So I had this idea when I was doing the Ironhack because I've been a soccer player for about, since I was little, and it's really tough to reserve a soccer field, well, for me here in Miami. So let me just get through this before the thing starts ringing. So let me tell you guys a little bit about soccer in the US, and it's been increasing in popularity over the last couple of years. Over the last 10 years, actually increased, recreational soccer has increased by 40%. And the process of reserving a field right now is if you want to reserve a soccer field, you would have to go to Google, type in indoor soccer fields. You would probably get 3 out of the 25 fields around your area. Then you would have to contact each of them personally, wait till they respond to you with the times. Once you get those times, you send that to your group chat of friends, see who wants to pop in. Whoever wants to play, plays, and once you got 12, then you have to go back and hope that the field's still available to confirm it. Because if not, you know, you can't like reserve a field and cancel like 2 hours before. So it's a huge process, it's a huge pain, like especially if you're trying to play a couple of times a week. For me, it's been a huge issue. So trying to stem from that, I decided to, so yeah, let me do how might we help facilitate the process of reserving and paying for a soccer field? And from this, really stem the idea of you can't just set up a reservation, booking system for fields without kind of helping the field manage itself a little better. So this is where 2 parts came to be. The management system for the field, and then the player app for the reservations. So from here, I reached out to a couple of field owners that I have kept in contact with over the years from playing here, and I interviewed them a bunch of times to try to learn more about them, like what their issues are, and how I could be able to help them. So these guys pretty much get hundreds of texts and calls a day asking for the same information that's not available anywhere online. Then they book this on their Google Calendar. Then they send a screenshot of that to their employee. Then they hope their employee shows up on time. Then when the players come out of the field, the employee writes down on a list with 12 names, each player, whatever they had by pencil and paper, in a binder, whatever, water, whatever they had. And then these employees are usually immigrants, don't speak that much English, and they spend all day on the field. And then they have to add it up and kind of like, it's really hard to keep track of the whole process. So from my conversation with all of them, some of the main pain points that really bothered them was, as you can see here, was every week they need to text their weekly field players if they're going to play that week, because if they're not, they need to find someone else. So they wanted a way to be able to send that text message out instantaneously to all of them every week. Another thing was they had no way to really organize their contacts to see at what time, because they're always reaching out to new players to try to keep their fields as booked as possible. So they didn't have a way to really like know when to reach out to what contact, because they just have like 10,000 contacts in their address book, and they just do a mass group text and they say they have this field and try to grab them. And then they didn't have online booking set up. They always get last minute cancellations, and sometimes rarely they have some miscommunication with employees. So like if someone reserves a soccer field last second, I want to reserve right now for 6 p.m., she might forget to send it to the employee, and then the employee doesn't show up on time. So that's also a big issue. So moving on, who is my user? This is Mirko. Mirko is around 38. He's not from the US, but he's a big fan of soccer. He spends all day thinking and working with soccer. He's usually on his desktop on his desk, but if not, he's on the go, and he's always talking to people. He's always getting text messages, getting phone calls. He's trying to be very personable. His job really requires him to be social. So he has to kind of give you that sense that he knows you and that you guys are friends. So then you can play on his field. So that's an aspect that is like big on his job. So he needs a way to be able to keep up with all these people that he's dealing with on a daily basis. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown of like what Mirko's process is. So he gets a phone or call. He checks his Google Calendar for the old times. He sends it to the player. Then he waits for the confirmation. And if they say yes, he reserves it for them. And then he sends an updated picture to his employee. That's the process right now that they have set up. So from my interviews with the 4 field owners that I talked to a bunch of times, I started to see a trend in like the very specific needs that they needed for this management system, because it's a very picky management system. I talked to them why they haven't picked up other ones, and I said because they were too complicated and they offered way more than they needed. Which is why I see an opportunity for something for like a niche market for these fields. So they wanted some of these features to be implemented. I'm going to go over them a little more when I show you guys a demo. So yeah, I'm going to jump right in before this clock buzzes on me. So I'm going to do a quick sign-in. I already did the onboarding for this downtown soccer field. So we're going to go straight into the most important part of the management system, which is the actual reservation itself. Getting the phone call and then putting the reservation in. So as you see here, I try to keep it as simple as possible with a calendar like Google Calendar view, because they use Google. All 4 that I've talked to use Google Calendar, so I didn't want to go too far away from that. So I kept like a very, very similar flow as that Google has. So Google has a very similar flow like this. It's just a little pop-up right now. You put the basic info of the player. And you have more options here because maybe you want to make a reservation and this guy wants to reserve the field every week. So you can go into the more options and put that in there. But for now, she's just making a regular reservation for someone that called. So we're going to save it. Cool. That's the process for making a reservation. Nice and quick. Then another pain point for them was keeping track of the inventory. Sometimes they don't know when to buy. They don't know when they're running low. They kind of eye it all out. And their employees kind of give them like a count. We sold 20 waters today. And then at the end of the month, they add it up. And they kind of give this report all by paper. So I wanted a way to automate that whole inventory so they don't have to be writing down 1 water, 2 waters, and then discounting that from their total, the total number, and then having to keep track of all that. So I try to make it a very simple way to keep track of your products. I went through so many inventory management systems, and they all ask for so much information. At first, on one of my first screens, I don't know much about inventory management, so I assumed these guys did, so I put most of the information they require. And when I took it to testing, she's like, I don't even know what half of this means. I don't know why I have to give you this information. So I decided to scrap all the unnecessary information on the items, and I kept it as right to the point. You can add a product, very simple. You put a quick picture of what you want, your name, the SKU. Not necessary, but I read that it's important for some people to organize if they have a lot of products. All right, guys, I'm running out of time. I'm going to speed it up. So, boom, we fill it up. This is just to help her with the reports later, the reports page later. That comes as a plus. So we'll add the product. I'm going to autofill it to some of the products that they sell over there. And from here now, I'm going to show you guys the aspect of the employee working at the field, which is a different side of this app. So get ready for that. Wait, sorry. After this. So now we fast forward a little bit. She's been using the app. She has, as you can see, she has her online reservations, because you can embed this code on your website, and it gives you the online booking functionality there, so you can tell which ones are online. She can send out weekly text messages to her players, and it'll give her notifications when they confirm. This is a weekly field owner, and he confirmed that he's going to play. He hasn't confirmed yet, so it's not there. And then you have the regular reservations that they set up. So now with all this set up, we go back to the field employee, sorry, that he writes everything down that goes on pen and paper. So I wanted to kind of give a similar feel like that. So he doesn't have any menu, any options. This is all he needs to worry about. Like, make sure the field is paid for. So as you can see, it turns yellow when the field is up. Then it pops up. You add all the players. He clicks if they have paid or not, and it tells you how much is missing towards the end. So boom, everyone pays. We'll close it. Turns green. Next one opens up. It's 7:30. The next field opens up, and that's pretty much it. I'm trying to keep it very simple. And then another side that they wanted to know, that they wanted, but they didn't care too much about, but they said it was cool, is to have a little rundown and a little report to the company, because it's hard to keep track of that nowadays with everything happened on pen and paper. So I gave them a little reports page. These are some data that they asked for. But yeah, that's it, guys.